parents got divorced just as I was starting puberty, which is really adding insult to injury, if you ask me. Especially because my mom moved out and was working overseas, and she was the only person in my family who understood even remotely how periods worked. My little brother and my dad certainly did not. The three of us were very close. We spent every weekend practically playing baseball and tennis and stuff like that, but this was not their department. My dad was raised Southern Baptist in the 1950s in West Virginia, and so anything related to menstruation or really reproduction in general was terrifying to him. He was always really good about going to the store to buy pads for me, but he would often return with one of everything they had and this wild look in his eye, like he'd been through this perilous ordeal. And I didn't blame him. I was scared too. My favorite section of 17 magazine was the part in the back where girls would write in their stories of embarrassing things that happened to them. It was called Trauma-Rama. Almost exclusively, these stories were about the author being publicly exposed as a menstruator and the resulting shock and disgust that inevitably followed such a hideous revelation. I lived in terror that I, too, would one day be exposed as someone who has a period, like a billion other people in the world. And it was starting to feel like this fear was maybe not unfounded. Recently, some idiot on the PTA had decided that our class t-shirts that year would be white. So every week on Spirit Day, you could tell exactly which of us 12-year-old girls was wearing a bra and which of us wasn't. I was in the unfortunate latter camp, which was mocked mercilessly. So I knew that I had to ask my dad to take me bra shopping. There were no other alternatives. We both knew this would be excruciating, but we also both knew it was unavoidable. I wasn't going to go into reverse puberty anytime soon. So we went to Kohl's, and my dad didn't seem to know what to do with himself while I shopped. At first, he followed me into the juniors' lingerie section, and then seemed to decide that wasn't a good idea. And then he just sort of lurked on the periphery, which honestly wasn't much of an improvement. I was trying to hurry, but I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what any of the sizes meant. So by the time we got up to the register, I think we were both a little bit flustered. I could tell because the cashier, as she rung up my training bras, turned to my dad and said in an incredibly misguided attempt to diffuse the tension, "They grow up so fast, don't they?" I have never wanted to disappear from the earth as much as I did in that moment. And judging by the silent, curt swipe of my dad's credit card, I think he felt the same way. Every year, my family goes on vacation to Myrtle Beach, like all West Virginians. And this year, my dad decided that we would still go, even without Mom, and that we would have just as much fun, if not more fun. I was 12 years old and didn't quite understand yet the complexities of adult relationships. But I still had a feeling that my dad's determination had something to do with the fact that my mom had just moved back to town with her new husband and her new baby. Dad needed a win, and we all wanted this win for him. So we embarked on our trip down to Myrtle Beach, and everything was going great so far. We were playing I Spy, we were listening to the Beach Boys, we were getting hyped. Dad had shaved off his mustache into his casual vacation look. Everything was going great. And then that first morning, I woke up in the hotel room, and I had my period. And here's the thing. No matter how many times I carefully reviewed the instructions on the side of the box, I couldn't figure out how to work the damn things. It just seemed impossible to me that people were able to use them in the manner described on the side of the box. It didn't make any sense. So, needless to say, there was no way I could go down to the beach in a swimsuit, not without risking a potential trauma-rama moment. So I went over to my dad, and I said, "Dad, I can't go to the beach. I have my period." And he says, kind of uncertainly, like he's not quite sure he has it right, "Isn't that what the tampon kind are for?" And I said, "Well, yes, but I don't know how to use those." And he looks at me and he says, "What do you mean you don't know how to use those?" And I said, "I don't know, I can't figure it out." And he just stares at me until finally he says, "Fine, he and my brother will go down to the beach by themselves. I can stay in the hotel room alone." and he leaves. And I can tell that he's hurt. I can tell that he doesn't quite believe me. I can tell that I am ruining what is supposed to be the best vacation ever. But I'm so mad. After they leave, I just stomp around the hotel room for a while. I'm mad at my mom for not being there. I'm mad at my dad for not being my mom, for not understanding. I'm mad at my body for having the audacity to mature at such an inconvenient time. I try to entertain myself for a while by watching a show hosted by Mario Lopez. I think, I can't possibly spend the whole day like this. So I come up with a plan, because there has to be some way I can still go down to the beach. There has to be some way that I can still be a part of this vacation. So I decide I'm going to put a pad on the inside of my swimsuit and wear jean shorts over top. And it's genius. Nobody will ever know. So I go down to the beach and I find my dad and my brother, and they're so excited to see me. And right away, it's just like old times. We're burying each other in the sand. Then we take the raft out on the ocean and we ride on the waves. And then this big wave comes and crashes over us and submerges the raft. And we all kind of resurface, laughing. And I look out over the ocean, and that's when I see it. Bobbing on the waves, drifting just out of reach, my pad. And I watch it wind around couples and families and girls who go like this and say, "Ew." And I realize this is my trauma-rama moment. I should be penning my letter to 17 right now. But then I hear my dad and my brother calling me back to the raft. They're oblivious to all of this. And I look back, and suddenly I don't feel so mortified. I didn't figure out how to use a tampon until I was in college. I didn't even know my correct bra size until last year. But when I was 12 years old, I had a really damn good vacation.